Half of what is growing in your garden right now is quietly getting ready to give up the moment real summer heat hits. Here are 17 vegetables that do the exact opposite. They get stronger the hotter it gets, and almost nobody grows enough of them. If you would rather grow vegetables that actually get stronger in the heat instead of fighting it, go ahead and subscribe right now. This channel breaks down a new plant list every single week, and you will not want to miss the next one. Here is the actual problem, and it is not the season. Summer does not shut a garden down. It just means a different group of plants finally gets its turn while the wrong ones quietly check out. A few of the plants on this list you are probably already growing, just slightly wrong. And the very last one barely even notices the heat. It keeps producing long after everything else around it has slowed to a stop. Let us get into it. Number 17, cherry tomatoes. Full-sized tomatoes often stop setting fruit once summer heat gets serious, but their smaller cousins keep right on going. Cherry tomato varieties carry real resistance to the humidity, wilts, and fungal pressure that typically knock out large fruited beefsteak-type tomatoes at the peak of summer. Part of the reason comes down to pollen viability. Once daytime temperatures push past 90 and nighttime lows stay above 75, the pollen on big fruited tomatoes basically becomes sterile, so blossoms just drop without ever forming fruit. Cherry varieties tolerate that same heat window without losing pollen viability nearly as fast, which is why they keep setting fruit right through the worst part of summer. Varieties like Sun Gold, Sweet 100, and Black Cherry are especially known for holding up. Spacing of 18 to 24 inches, heavy cages or string trellises to support them, deep watering, root zone 12 to 18 inches. A layer of mulch around the base helps keep soil temperature stable, which matters more than people think since fluctuating soil moisture is what causes blossom end rot. Pinch off suckers below the first fruit cluster to keep airflow moving through the plant, since dense foliage in humid heat is basically an invitation for fungal disease. If your regular tomatoes have already quit on you this summer, the next plant on this list has the opposite problem. Everyone assumes it hates the heat when it actually loves it. Number 16, hot peppers. If your bell peppers keep dropping their blossoms in the heat, the fix might just be switching to a different kind of pepper entirely. Large fruited sweet bell peppers commonly drop their blossoms once nighttime temperatures pass 75 degrees. Smaller hot pepper varieties keep flowering and setting fruit right through summer instead, and the heat actually stimulates more capsaicin production, making them spicier as the season goes on. This happens because heat stress triggers the plant to produce more capsaicinoids as a defense response, so a jalapeno grown in a brutal August will genuinely taste hotter than the same variety grown in a mild June. Spacing of 12 to 18 inches, short stakes for the heavier fruiting branches, moderate water, root zone 8 to 12 inches. Peppers actually prefer slightly drier soil between waterings compared to tomatoes, since consistently soggy roots invite root rot fast in hot, humid conditions. If you want maximum heat, cut back watering slightly in the 2 weeks before harvest. Stressing the plant just a bit further concentrates the capsaicin even more. Peppers get punished for good intentions. The next plant on this list gets ruined by good intentions too, and it is one of the most common mistakes in the entire garden. Number 15, eggplant. Most people make eggplant's biggest mistake with completely good intentions, stripping off leaves to improve airflow around the fruit. That foliage is actually protecting the fruit from sun scald. The real fix for consistent, healthy fruit is mulching to insulate the shallow roots, keeping them cool and moist while the canopy handles full sun just fine on its own. Fruit set happens best somewhere between 70 and 95 degrees, which puts eggplant right in its comfort zone during the hottest stretch of summer when a lot of other fruiting vegetables are struggling. Spacing of 18 to 24 inches, a heavy stake or cage, and consistent moisture at a root depth of 12 to 18 inches. Flea beetles love young eggplant leaves, so if you notice small shot holes appearing, a floating row cover early in the season saves the plant before it ever becomes a real problem. Harvest fruit while the skin is still glossy. Once it turns dull, the seeds inside have matured and the flesh turns bitter. Eggplant hides its mistake in plain sight. The next plant hides its entire harvest underground and does not show you a thing until it is ready. Number 14, sweet potatoes. This plant does almost nothing visible above ground for months, while the real harvest is quietly forming underground. Sweet potatoes are grown from slips rather than seed, and once established, the vines form a dense ground cover on their own that suppresses weeds and cuts down on evaporation. Even the young leaves and vine tips are edible as a summer green, so you are getting 2 harvests from one planting. Sauteed sweet potato greens taste similar to spinach with a slightly earthier finish. Spacing of 12 inches in raised ridges, no support needed, and it is genuinely drought-resistant once established. Planting in raised ridges or mounds matters more than people realize. It keeps the developing tubers out of waterlogged soil and makes harvest far easier since you are not digging through compacted ground. Stop watering heavily about 2 to 3 weeks before harvest. This encourages the tubers to finish sizing up and improves their storage life afterward. Now that we have covered the familiar ones, here is where this list gets interesting. A couple of plants most people have never even heard of, let alone grown. Number 13, Cassava. If you are gardening somewhere genuinely hot and humid, the plant that should be replacing your potatoes is not even in the same family as a potato at all. Cassava produces starchy tuberous roots that can be boiled, baked, or fried, and it thrives specifically in the kind of high heat and humidity that shuts down cooler climate root crops entirely. It is grown from stem cuttings rather than seed, and a single healthy cutting stuck into warm soil will root within a couple of weeks. The plant needs a long runway though. Most varieties take 8 to 12 months to fully mature, so this is a slow burn crop rather than a quick harvest. One important note, raw cassava root and leaves contain compounds that release cyanide, so the roots must always be peeled and thoroughly cooked before eating, never eaten raw. For anyone gardening somewhere like the Deep South, this is a real tropical starch option most people never think to try, and it barely asks for anything once it is established, just space, warmth, and patience. Number 12, Boniato. Most people keep planting regular potatoes every summer and keep wondering why the harvest is disappointing. Regular potatoes are fighting a losing battle once soil temperatures climb. They simply were not built for it. Tuber formation on regular potatoes essentially stalls once soil temperatures pass 80 degrees. Boniato is a white-fleshed relative of the sweet potato, and it produces dry, fluffy tubers that work as a genuinely satisfying potato substitute in hot, humid climates where regular potatoes struggle to perform at all. The skin is often a distinctive reddish purple while the flesh inside stays creamy white, and the texture bakes up closer to a russet potato than to a typical sweet potato, which is part of why it is such a good stand-in. It is grown from slips exactly like sweet potato, spaced about 12 inches apart in loose, well-draining soil, and it needs a full warm season to size up properly. If you keep planting potatoes out of habit every year and keep getting let down, this is the direct swap worth trying instead. Number 11, Tomatillos. This is the plant most people fail with for one very specific, very avoidable reason. Tomatillos are largely self-incompatible, meaning a single plant usually cannot pollinate itself at all. You genuinely need at least 2 separate plants, ideally 2 different varieties, so insects can carry pollen between them. This single fact is responsible for more disappointing harvests than anything else with this crop. People plant one tomatillo, get a huge sprawling plant covered in papery husks, and then wonder why almost none of them ever fill out with fruit. Spacing of 18 to 24 inches, a cage or trellis to support the branches, moderate water, root zone 12 to 15 inches. You will know a tomatillo is ready to pick once the papery husk splits open or turns pale and papery dry. The fruit inside should feel firm and fill out most of the husk. They keep producing steadily right through the hottest months, making them one of the more reliable salsa verde ingredients you can grow yourself. Number 10, Armenian Cucumber. If your cucumbers keep turning bitter once the heat sets in, you might be growing the wrong species entirely. Armenian cucumber is actually botanically a melon, not a true cucumber, and that is exactly why it never develops the bitter compounds, called cucurbitacins, that heat stress can trigger in standard cucumbers. It stays sweet and crisp even past 95 degrees. The fruit itself grows long and ribbed, often curling into a distinctive light green coil, and it is best picked in the 12 to 18-inch range while the skin is still thin, since the flesh never develops the tough seed cavity that overgrown standard cucumbers do. It needs a trellis, spacing of about 12 inches along it, and fairly high water, root zone 10 to 12 inches. Growing it vertically also keeps the fruit straighter, and makes it far easier to spot ripe ones hiding under the leaves. Number 9, Malabar Spinach. This is not spinach at all, and that is exactly why it keeps going when real spinach gives up. It is a tropical climbing vine, completely unrelated botanically to true spinach, with thick, succulent leaves that store water and hold up through serious heat, carrying a mild, slightly peppery flavor with just a hint of mucilaginous texture once cooked, similar to okra. It needs a strong trellis or an A-frame, spacing of 6 to 8 inches along it. Since its roots stay shallow, 6 to 10 inches deep, it needs consistently high water. Letting it dry out even briefly will noticeably slow new leaf production. There are two common varieties, one with plain green stems and one with striking reddish-purple stems, and both perform similarly in the heat, so the choice mostly comes down to looks. Harvest the tender growing tips regularly. This actually encourages the vine to branch out and produce even more foliage. Number 8. Amaranths. While lettuce and spinach are bolting and turning bitter in the heat, this leafy green is just getting started. Amaranth runs on a different photosynthesis process than most leafy greens, one that keeps working efficiently at temperatures that would send typical greens straight into bolting and bitterness. This is the same pathway found in corn and sugarcane, and it lets the plant keep converting sunlight into usable energy without shutting down under intense heat and bright light. Spacing of 6 to 8 inches if you are growing it for leaves, low to moderate water, root zone around 12 to 15 inches. Some varieties are grown specifically for grain rather than leaves. If you want a continuous cut-and-come-again leaf harvest, look for a leaf type like red leaf amaranth or callaloo rather than a grain type. Cutting the plant back by about a third every couple of weeks keeps it producing tender new growth instead of pushing toward flowering. If this list is already changing how you think about your summer garden, take a second and subscribe. A new one drops every week. And drop a comment letting me know where you are gardening from. I like seeing how this plays out across totally different climates. Number 7. Swiss chard. If your chard looks wilted every single afternoon, that is not necessarily a sign it is dying. Chard's big leaves will droop slightly during hot afternoons specifically to cut down on water loss, then bounce back once temperatures drop in the evening, as long as soil moisture stays consistent. This is actually a defense mechanism, not distress. The plant is deliberately reducing the surface area exposed to direct sun and wind to slow transpiration. Sowing it in the early morning shadow of a taller plant, okra works well, reduces that afternoon stress before it even starts. Spacing of 8 to 10 inches, and since the roots stay shallow, 6 to 8 inches deep, it needs frequent watering. Chard is also one of the few leafy greens that keeps producing for months without bolting in the heat. Harvesting the outer leaves first and leaving the center intact means a single planting can realistically feed you all summer long. Number 6. Southern peas. This is the plant that quietly improves your soil, while almost everything else around it is just taking from it. Southern peas, Crowder, cream, and black-eyed pea varieties among them, form a partnership with soil bacteria that pulls nitrogen straight out of the air and puts it back into the ground. That bacteria lives in small nodules on the roots, and by the time you pull the plants at the end of the season, that fixed nitrogen is available for whatever you plant next. They tolerate poor, sandy soil and real drought without complaint, which makes them an excellent summer cover crop that actually prepares your beds for whatever comes next in fall. Spacing of 3 to 4 inches, in rows about 18 inches apart. Unlike a lot of legumes, southern peas actually thrive in the exact heat and humidity that make most beans miserable, which is exactly why they became a staple crop across the American South in the first place. Number 5. Yardlong beans. If regular green beans have been struggling once real heat arrives, this climbing relative barely notices. The biggest mistake here is waiting too long to harvest. These pods should be picked at roughly the thickness of a pencil to stay tender and crisp. Leave them longer and they turn tough fast, and the plant starts shifting energy into seed development instead of producing new pods. Train them vertically on a trellis, which improves airflow, cuts down on foliar disease, and makes picking easier, since the pods often grow well over a foot long and hang down cleanly when supported. Spacing of about 6 inches along the trellis, moderate water, root zone around 10 to 12 inches. Despite the name, Yardlong beans are actually more closely related to southern peas than to standard green beans, which explains why they shrug off the same heat and humidity that southern peas handle so well. Number 4. Arugula. Most gardeners assume arugula is a cool season crop only, and pull it the second real summer heat shows up. That is actually a mistake. Arugula has strong recovery in its foliage and can handle temperatures well over 95 degrees as long as it gets a bit of shade. Instead of giving up on it, interplant it in the shade of something taller. Eggplant or sweet corn work well. Give it about 3 inches of spacing. You can genuinely pack in up to 16 plants per square foot. Just keep that shallow root zone, roughly 4 to 6 inches deep, consistently moist. Summer-grown arugula does tend to taste noticeably more peppery and sharp than the milder spring crop. Some people love that intensity. Others prefer to blend it into salads rather than eat it on its own. Harvesting frequently, taking outer leaves before they get large, keeps the flavor from turning overly bitter. Number 3. Sponge gourd, also called luffa. Most people have no idea the sponge in their shower started life as a summer vegetable. There are actually 2 distinct types here. smooth-skinned Luffa cylindrica, and the ribbed or angled Luffa acutangula, sometimes called Chinese okra. Both can be harvested young and eaten, or left on the vine to mature and dry into that familiar fibrous sponge texture. If you are eating it, pick the fruit young, under 6 inches, while the skin is still tender and the interior has not developed those tough fibers yet. If you want an actual sponge, leave the fruit on the vine until it turns brown and feels light and dry, then peel away the outer skin to reveal the fibrous network underneath. It needs a heavy vertical trellis or arbor, spacing of about 12 inches along it, and moderate to high water since the root system runs deep. The vines grow aggressively in full summer heat and can easily cover an arbor or fence within a couple of months. Number 2. Seminole Pumpkin. If squash vine borers have wiped out your pumpkins before, this is the variety that seems built to shrug that off. Native to Florida and the wider neotropics, Seminole Pumpkin carries real resistance to the squash vine borer, one of the most destructive pests for summer squash across humid climates. Part of that resistance comes down to a tougher, more fibrous stem that the borer larvae struggle to tunnel through effectively. Its vines actually root themselves at each node as they spread across the ground, anchoring the plant as it grows, and this also means that even if one section of vine gets damaged, the rest of the plant keeps drawing water and nutrients independently through those extra root points. Give it real room, 24 to 36 inches of spacing, either sprawling ground space or a strong overhead trellis. The pumpkins store well through winter too, often keeping for 6 months or more in a cool, dry spot, so this one plant covers you well past summer. Number 1. Okra. While most of the garden is slowing down in serious heat, this is the plant that actually speeds up. Okra has a deep taproot system built to reach moisture other plants simply cannot get to, and soil temperatures between 75 and 90 degrees are exactly when it grows fastest. Some varieties will noticeably stall out or refuse to germinate at all if the soil is still too cool in spring, which is why late planting into genuinely hot soil often outperforms an early start. There is really only one mistake worth watching for here: letting the pods grow too long. Harvest them at 3 to 4 inches. Leave them longer and they turn woody and fibrous, and worse, it triggers a hormonal response inside the plant that actually shuts down further flowering and fruiting altogether, essentially telling the plant its job of producing seed is already done. Give it 12 to 15 inches of spacing in offset rows, no support needed, and deep watering down to a root zone over 18 inches. Okra also tends to be a magnet for beneficial pollinators, thanks to its large hibiscus-like flowers, since okra is actually a member of the hibiscus family, so a healthy patch tends to bring more pollinators to everything else nearby too. Of everything on this list, okra is the clearest proof that a garden does not have to slow down once the heat gets serious. It just needs the right plant given an actual chance. Before we wrap up, here is one distinction worth knowing that most people never learn. Heat tolerance and drought tolerance are not the same thing. Heat tolerance is about a plant's ability to keep functioning normally at high temperatures. Drought tolerance is about how well it survives without much water. A plant can genuinely love heat and still need consistent watering to actually produce anything. Okra happens to have both. That deep taproot gives it real drought tolerance on top of its heat tolerance. Malabar spinach, on the other hand, loves the heat but still needs frequent watering, since its roots stay close to the surface. Understanding which category a plant actually falls into changes how you water it. A heat lover with shallow roots needs frequent light watering, while a heat and drought lover with deep roots does better with less frequent, deeper soaks. One more thing worth knowing: a 2 to 3 inch layer of mulch can lower soil temperature by 10 to 15 degrees, and deep, consistent watering through a soaker hose or drip line will always beat frequent shallow watering, since shallow watering just trains roots to stay near the surface, exactly where they dry out the fastest. Straw, shredded leaves, or wood chips all work. Just keep mulch pulled back an inch or two from plant stems to avoid trapping moisture against them and inviting rot. You do not need all 17 of these in your garden this summer. Pick 2 or 3 that actually fit your space and your climate, and let the rest catch up next season. Summer was never the end of the growing season. It is just the point where a completely different group of plants finally gets to take over. Let me know in the comments which of these 17 you are trying first, or if you have already grown one, tell me how it went. And drop where you are gardening from too. I genuinely like seeing how this plays out across different climates. New research-backed plant breakdowns go up every week, so subscribe if you do not want to miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.